reading is from the 17th chapter of Luke, beginning with the 11th verse, found on page 955 in your pew Bibles. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourself to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God, except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." The Gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
The congregation may be seated. Our first reading, which is now second, is from the second chapter of the second book of Kings, the 5th chapter. If you're following in your pew Bible, it is printed on page 332, and the omitted verses are not omitted in this reading, and the reading will be a little longer, although not to the end of the chapter. The story gets even more fun after the reading that we'll hear now. So you should take your bulletin home and read the whole chapter. It's really rather a fabulous story. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man and in high favor with his master. Because by Naaman, the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man, though a mighty warrior, suffered from leprosy. Now the Arameans, on one of their raids, had taken a young girl captive from the land of Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "Oh, if only my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria. The prophet would cure him of his leprosy." So Naaman went in and told his Lord just what the girl from the land of Israel had said. And the king of Aram said, "Go then, and I will send along a letter to the king of Israel." Aram went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of garments. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "When this letter reaches you, know that I have sent you my servant Naaman, that you may cure him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes. Am I God to give death or life? This man sends word to me that I may cure a man of his leprosy? Just look and see how he's trying to pick a quarrel with me. But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a messenger to the king. "Why do you grieve? Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come to me, that he may learn that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and his chariots, and he halted at the entrance of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger out to him, saying, "Go wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be made clean." But Naaman became angry and went away, saying, "I thought that for me he would surely come out and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and would wave his hand over the spot and cure the leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be made clean?" He turned and went away in a rage. But his servants approached him, and they said to him, "Father, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more when all he said to you was wash and be clean?" So Naaman went down and immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a young boy, and he was clean. Then he returned to the man of God, he and the whole company. He came and stood before him and said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the earth except in Israel. Please accept a present from your servant." But Elisha said, "As the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will accept nothing." Naaman urged Elisha to accept, but Elisha refused. Then Naaman said, "If not, please let 2 mule loads of earth be given to your servant. For your servant will no longer offer burnt offerings or sacrifices to any god except the God that is, the Lord. But may the Lord pardon your servant on one count. When my master, the king of Aram, goes into the house of Rimmon to worship there, leaning on my arm, and I bow down in the house of Rimmon. When I do bow down in the house of Rimmon, may the Lord pardon your servant on this one count." Elisha said to him, "Go in peace." The word of the Lord.
Thanks
be to God. Pretty amazing story. One of my favorites in Scripture, if you can't tell. I think it's one of Jesus' favorites because he does make reference to it a little more than once. The foreigner receiving the blessing. And there's no reason for this foreigner to receive the blessing. He's a scoundrel. He's an enemy of Israel. And how is it that it receives the blessing? And how is it that when we get to this pause in the middle of the story, there's more to come. This pause in the middle of the story, how is it that he is going to go into a temple and he is going to ask for pardon? What do you think Elisha should say to him? He's going to ask Elisha for pardon on this one count because he's going to kneel in the temple of Rimmon because his boss, the king of Aram, is on his arm. And of course, he has to kneel because that's the God he worships. But he's going to kneel before this other God. There's a whole commandment about that. I mean, don't we know how to draw the line somewhere? Kneeling in the house of Rimmon? Shouldn't Elisha tell him, don't even go in that house? I mean, that's how we establish good order, isn't it? We set out the rules and the regulations. They're going to give us a solid order about how all things are to be. Naaman probably grew up with this disadvantage of his leprosy. At some point it struck him. And, well, leprosy in Scripture is any number of skin diseases. We all know how to treat people with skin diseases. We back up from them. We stay away from them. We scrunch up our faces. We look funny at them. We talk about them. We wonder what it is that they did to deserve such a thing. It's, at first appearance, repulsive to us. And yet, somehow, this man has overcome all that. Whatever pain or suffering may be involved, he has overcome all that to command armies. Successful armies. Armies that generate fear from the king of Israel. Armies that capture children and haul them off into slavery. Who is this man? And how does he even deserve the consideration of that young girl who'd been captured and made a maidservant to his wife? Here's a small, tiny character who doesn't even get named. And somehow she has compassion on this man. Because she says to the mistress of the house, it's too bad he doesn't know the prophet that's in Samaria. It's too bad he can't be healed by this man who's a foreigner to him, who's an enemy of his king. It's too bad. This soft, humble voice calls this out. Of course, it's passed up the line to him, and he goes to the king and he says to his king, he says, well, there's a possibility. And the king says, well, I'll write a letter. Isn't that a curious thing? Enemies writing letters to each other to command the cure of the general? And probably the king of Israel assesses everything exactly correctly. And he says, they're trying to pick a quarrel with me. They're looking for a reason to invade. Don't we look for reasons to start wars? And if our enemy isn't willing to give us one, we're more than happy to make one up. Oh, we never know about that when it's happening, but years go by and we say, aha. We do the same for reasons to get out of the wars. There's another person, unnamed, but an integral part of the story, who was in the king's court, who heard what was going on, who took the information back to Elisha. We didn't even hear about that happening, but the information traveled back to Elisha, a messenger that would have been an angel, somebody carrying a message to or from a person of God. Oh, yeah. This is what's going on. And Elisha says, well, why don't you handle the stuff that is your stuff to handle as king, and I'll handle the God stuff. Send him to me. I have the faith to turn him over to God. That message goes back to the king. And so off goes Naaman on this travel through enemy territory. What an amazing story. Isn't this astonishing? I mean, if you just think about the political dynamics that are going on here. And he arrives. He arrives at Elisha's house. You can almost picture his army traveling with him, carrying all the reward, probably a good bit of it pillaged from Israel itself anyway. And after getting the runaround, after having his king's letter causing so much turmoil and upset, after not getting the answer in the place that he expects, and then arriving at the prophet's house, you know, from the capital city out to Samaria. Again, really? He doesn't even get an audience with the person who's going to do the curing. He gets a message sent out. Really? Doesn't he know who I am? Plenty of fatigue. And he becomes angry, like any of us would, getting to run around. Especially if we're an important person. You wouldn't call that customer service, would you? I mean, after all, don't you know how much business I could bring your way? Or how much business I could take away from you? Elisha is not considering these things. Should he be given a lesson? What to do now? And off he goes in a rage. Now, I would submit that this is probably not his standard all the time attitude, being angry. Because, first of all, if he was always angry, wouldn't that girl who'd been made a slave, wouldn't she just kept to herself what she knew about the power that was in Israel through the prophet? She'd have just not talked about that. And certainly if she had told Naaman's wife, and he was always an angry man, maybe she'd have held that back too. And when the king of Israel declared this whole thing a stunt to trick them, he would have lost his temper then. And those servants of his, would they have been willing to approach him for a thought to be considered? Just another perspective? Knowing him to be a great and powerful man? If they had been genuinely afraid of a tyrant, would they have made the suggestion? It almost seems comical in its common sense. If he'd asked you to climb to the top of the mountain and build a fire to the gods, you'd have been all over it. Yet it had this whole caravan unload everything and load up the wood that would be necessary for the burning. You can imagine the lengths that people will go to be cured. You even go into one of the most dangerous places that we know about, a hospital. A place that we're genuinely afraid of when we're looking for a cure. A place we can't wait to get out of as soon as we get fixed. A place that I call a great place to get fixed and a terrible place to get better. The same. But he's asked you to wash in the river. And making a special claim to your own homeland's beautiful rivers. No, it's got to be the Jordan River. So he goes into the river 7 times. There's that number. It showed up again. Did you notice that? It wasn't 11 times. It wasn't 5 times. 7. What happened in 7? Creation was made. There was even a day of rest in it. A divine perfection. A completion. Pointing to God. 7. 7 times in and out of the river. And in that pace, that back and forth, came again a humility. A humility that uncommanded the commander. Reminded him that God is God. And he is not. And he comes back. He comes back to pay for it. As if it's a transaction. And you know transactions really well. I mean, it's hard to give somebody a gift these days, isn't it? I mean, try it when you go out for lunch or dinner. Try picking up the tab. Isn't it an argument? Oh no, it's your, no, and maybe the compromise is it's your turn. No, it's my turn. No, it's your turn, it's my turn. Why don't we split it? Well, then who had, I mean, do you split it down to the penny, to the dollar, to who had the appetizer, who had the drink, who had the, you know, do you do all of that? I mean, because we really wouldn't want to receive a gift any more than we'd want to give one. We'd like to remain a little bit in control. Really. We practice plenty of that. Can we receive a gift without feeling an obligation? Here, a gift of healing has been given, something that would have been unimaginable otherwise. Can we receive it? Can we our wholeness as a gift. Well, of course, he tries to pay for it. And Elisha refuses. Maybe Elisha refuses because it's a test to see if the God that is the Lord, and it is the Lord's name being used here, the Lord is being referenced. Will he be reverenced? And I think here is the genuine turning point of this story. It's not in the healing. Because Naaman's changed. Because now he understands. And he speaks. There's no God. There's one God. It's the God that's in Israel. Now, his geography is a little incomplete. I'm going to cut him some slack on that because he's in foreign territory discovering the God that is. And he thinks it's associated with the dirt, or maybe with the water, but associated with the dirt. And he wants to take some home. Because when he gets humble, he wants to kneel on the dirt that's from the land where God is from, so that God can be with him. There's plenty to argue with about that particular perspective on theology, but his witness to worship is perfect. Completely perfect. And in his question comes the complete understanding of his worship. He doesn't want the God that is to mistake anything that he does. And just once a year, he's got to be the right-hand man to his king. His worldly duties, he has no control over this. And go into a foreign God's temple. A God that is not. And kneel. He knows who God is. He knows worship. And now he's going to kneel. And the rules and the regs, they say no. That control that we seek to have in our lives, that order where everything flows through smoothly, that healing that we all but expect from those who provide healing to us. That's all come together into this one spot. Because the ways of the world have been completely disheveled. He's received a gift. Something that he genuinely desired, that he would have paid anything for, but he's received it as a gift, and he's no longer in command of the situation. Isn't that the same thing that we try and do? I mean, I know a man who achieved the American dream by, let's say 37. He'd exceeded his father. Well, isn't that sort of what's expected of us? To be able to exceed our parents? Because they give us so much to stand on. We can see above and beyond that. We stand on all that they have given us. And they've taught us the ways of the world. And we've gotten a better education, a more prestigious position. We moved on and up. how we make sense of the world. And for this fella, in his employment, he far exceeded the goals that he had in mind. And the company admired his work so much, they transferred him into a new position right underneath the vice president. But right next door to the fellow who'd been there much longer than he had, became his instantaneous rival. Who used every political, devious mean to manipulate him. It got him assigned to projects that he knew would pass and move by and through. And his friend was wildly successful at everything that he did. But he was the one that didn't belong in this section. He was the one who didn't have all the friends, who didn't have all the connections, and didn't get the promotion when it came. Instead, got a lateral move offered to him. This company paid him so much money. And he was so upset with the lateral move. He nearly quit. I know about this because he told me about it. It was like it was happening right in front of me. And the pain that he felt all revolved around what he thought he deserved. What he thought belonged to him anyway. What he thought that he had earned and had a right to. And there wasn't an ounce of humility left in him. When he got his pride way up. I reminded him about humble servants. It's good rhetoric, but you just don't understand, Pastor, the ways of the world. You just don't understand that if you can't stand up for yourself, you're just gonna get run over. If you can't put yourself first, you will be last. That was the order that he knew about the world. And the world was letting him down. And somehow he was counting on me delivering a favor from God to him. Well, I couldn't really tell him to go wash in the Jordan 7 times, could I? But I invited him to rethink humble. You know, the Samaritan. Funny that it would be a Samaritan, wouldn't it? Samaritan. It just had to be a Samaritan. Jesus, you had to bring up the Samaritans again. Funny that it would be a Samaritan who fell at Jesus' knees, bowed face down to him. That's the description. Worship is the verb. He worshiped him. Funny that a humble posture. Remember when we
virile bodies that were ready to scamper about and make a quick dash for the door. We take a posture that says, you, up there, our Lord. And I am at your table. We are filled with awe and wonder. A new order is being given to us. And God is with us. Maybe we should hand out little bags of dirt, so that the ordinary, the common that we might carry with us. Oh no, instead we are given bread and wine and told of a promise that it's my body, my blood, and that it would nurture at least our spiritual. And we come to this rail, we come to this place with our aching bodies, our sore backs, our replaced knees, and we don't dare kneel, already humbled. And now sad because of our pride that we can't do those things. And still we are nourished. I think I need about 358 more of these before my page-a-day calendar comes. But if you'd like to avoid humiliation, humility as a practice is an imperative. We will all be brought low. Mortals. All of us. We will all be brought low. There will always be a warrior stronger and greater just over the horizon, ready to take us. And we will all be brought low. But if we belong to the one who lifts us up, then we shall never be humiliated. We shall be, as Naaman says, your servant. Amen. Let's stand and sing.